We're joined now by Professor Kobi Michael, a senior research fellow at Israel's National Institute for Strategic Studies and the Miskov Institute. Thank you so much for joining us. This is definitely, a story that is ruffling more feathers. This is nothing new in Europe, or for something like this to be discovered. What do we know as far as what potential plans were for a terror attack?
Good evening. I think that what we see, and by the way, we are talking about one group or one squad which was located or operated in at least three countries: Germany, the UK, and Austria and Vienna. I think that what we see is actually a sort of a trial of Hamas. I assume that it is heavily backed by Iran to open another front. The Iranians and Hezbollah are very experienced with regard to such fronts, and they succeeded in the past to terrorize Israeli and Jewish targets outside of Israel, be it in Europe or even in South America. I think that when Hamas loses the war in the Gaza Strip, and when Iran is losing its, I would say, agents and proxies here in the region, both of them are trying to harm Israel and the Jews outside of the state of Israel. And this is exactly what we see in the last trial of Hamas in Vienna.
And, given that this was foiled, I mean, is there reason to be concerned that there's some kind of concerted effort of strategizing and timing something more massive in other cities at the same time? Is that a legitimate concern?
Yes, of course. This must be our working assumption that Hamas, as I said before, backed by Iran, maybe even with a sort of cooperation with Hezbollah, all the three of them will do their utmost efforts in order to open additional fronts in Europe, in South America, in Asia, in any place that they can harm Jews and Israelis. This is part of their strategy, and this is something that might help them in their conception to leverage their position vis-a-vis Israel and vis-a-vis, by the way, the United States and the moderators. This will give them more power and more, I would say, option to negotiate or to leverage some interests that they have.
It's also nothing new, as we've gone through this with, Israelis understanding and having experience with Hamas warning the Western world that Israel is just the beginning of what could be a larger domino. So if this is something that is being strategically planned, how do authorities throughout these countries have the experience to deal with it in a way that, Israel has the experience after going through the past 2 years?
This is a sort of truth of moment of these governments, I mean, in Europe and in other continents. And now they are going to pay a sort of a price of, I would say, a sort of neglecting for many years a sort of extremism in their countries, behalf, progressive ideas, neoliberal ideas, or the bizarre alliance, green-red alliance between radical Muslims and progressives. I think that what we see these days in New York and what we see in London, in Germany, in Vienna, and in other places will continue growing. And I think that the radicals in these places are more and more encouraged from the weakness of these governments on the one hand, and the prosperity, I would say, of the so-called bizarre alliance, the Red-Green Alliance. And I think that we are going to witness more and more trials of extremism, violent extremism, that will be demonstrated as well by terrorism. I mean, we will find Hamas and we'll find Hezbollah and we'll find Iran exactly in these arenas. And I think that this is a sort of moment of truth. And it looks that these governments, the European governments, will need now a very crucial assistance of Israel based on our experience and mainly on our very good intelligence.
All right. Very well said. Thank you very much, Kobi Michael.
Thank you.